For every action, there is a reaction. For every mistake, there is a moment of regret, the wish for a second chance. This is a world of despair. These people made driving a game, never paid attention, played with gadgets, distracted by cell phones, drove their vehicle without caution or regard. Oh, they played with many things. Maybe this. Or the work they couldn't leave at the office. The cell phone they couldn't live without. Ignoring the stark reality of driving and making it into a game. They end up here. I show them the cost of the games they played. I am the connection between distraction and the chilling reality when you make driving a game. This is James. James was an IT consultant in the city. He had a wife and 2 children. It is time for James to learn his lesson. It is time for all of you to learn your lesson. Good. Let us begin our game. It's called Stay Alive. It shouldn't be so difficult, but you people seem to find it extraordinarily challenging. Operation of an automobile is a very complex task, and it requires the operator's undivided attention, not games. See, there are not only the constant tasks that the driver can predict, but there is also the constant possibility of the unpredictable. Frightening, isn't it? When we drive a car, we need to give it our full attention. We need to keep ourselves and the people around us safe. It's why you can't make driving a game. And distracted driving is one of the most serious threats to your safety and to the safety of the drivers around you. Distracted driving happens anytime the driver diverts his attention from driving to any other task or activity. Modern driving is full of distractions, small and large. Tuning or adjusting the car's sound system or your MP3 player. Reading driving directions or this month's quarterly report. Adjusting your seat or your steering wheel or your climate controls. Setting your GPS. Eating or drinking. Personal grooming. Talking with passengers. Smoking. Looking at one thing for too long, like a roadside accident. Having pets or children in the car. And the most dangerous distraction of the 21st century, the cell phone. If you think these distractions seem small or unimportant, look at what any of them can quickly lead to. Injuries, fatalities, loss of property, of limb, of life, game over. A single second's distraction, and the result can be devastating. I'll show you. Let's say our driver had recently had a couple of drinks of liquor. We'd expect this drive to be a little more challenging. That's why almost everyone understands that it's a bad idea to drink and drive. But for some reason, people think it's okay to use a cell phone and drive. And study after study has proven that cell phone use is as great an impairment, if not greater, than the impairment after 2 drinks. Still, you make driving a game. Have you played this game? Let me show you. You're on the highway. Check the traffic, you're fine. Is your phone on? Open the history. Where's that number? You should check traffic again. You're fine. Scroll down to the F's. Check traffic. Fine. F, FA, should check traffic. Game over. You're dead. Or they are. Or perhaps all of you are. Too many people believe that a quick glance away from the road can't hurt them. But no glance is quick enough. If you are moving at roughly 62 miles per hour, you are traveling 92 feet per second. More than a quarter of a soccer field per second. It's too far. It's too fast. Too many things can happen in those 92 feet. But most people do it. Most of you do it occasionally, and 17% of you do it frequently. More than 80% of you say it's a real problem, and more than half of you call the problem unacceptable. How can over half of all drivers find it unacceptable while also doing it? 1 in 7 even admit texting while driving. How many soccer fields is that? Teen drivers are especially vulnerable to the temptation. They've grown up in a multitasking world. I know you're thinking, I'm not a teenager. But there are teen drivers all around you. And if you have teens in your home or in your car, you set an example. Look how much of the road is being ignored at some time by some driver around you right now. Almost all of it. And don't tell yourself hands-free devices are better. 2 out of 3 of you believe it's better, but it's not. Every major study shows there's no difference in the level of distraction. The reasons are different. There's less looking away from the road, but there's still a trend known as looking but not seeing. Because the part of your brain that would be used for processing visual data is being occupied by the telephone conversation. You look at the other cars, but you don't really see them. You don't engage the portion of your brain that truly evaluates the situation. It's as bad as not seeing them at all. And because your hands are free, you make the mistake of thinking you can perform even more things, which distract you that much further. How about this game? You're talking to a potential customer. They're describing their facility. They ask you specific information from the company brochure. Now you're having a telephone conversation and leafing through a brochure. And driving. But not very well. Most people understand. Yes, of course, driving is important. Lives are at stake. But most people also think that surely an experienced driver can handle a bit more multitasking, can't he? Driving an automobile already is multitasking, and it should be allowed to occupy all of your attention. Let's remember the menu of tasks a competent driver must perform at all times. Steering, acceleration, braking, maintenance and control of speed, lane selection, and constant monitoring of your surroundings for hazards or other difficulties. In the road ahead, in your side view mirrors, in your rear view mirror. All of these are the primary tasks of the driver. Anything else, eating, tuning the radio, talking to passengers, is secondary, and it counts as a distraction, and that makes it a hazard. But most of you don't believe this. Most of you believe that driving time is unproductive and should be used for other things. As your lives have become busier and more filled with pressures, the need to maximize every second has become a pressure. Too many of you think that your time behind the wheel should be spent twice. Once on driving, and then again on something else. From eating a meal, to phoning relatives, to even sending a quick email to work. Those who spend it twice are misspending it, at risk to themselves and to others. And sooner or later, there are consequences. There can also be legal consequences. A company that allows its employees to use cell phones while driving can expose itself to liability costs in the millions. And if you're a driver who is involved in an accident due to something like cell phone use, you can face criminal charges, which can cost you money in fines, increased insurance costs, and can even result in jail time. But the legal consequences of distracted driving are insignificant when compared to the property loss, injuries, and fatalities which accompany automobile crashes. Nearly 80% of crashes and 65% of near crashes involve some sort of distraction within 3 seconds of the event. What should you do to prevent being one of the 80%? The obvious answer is to focus on your primary driving tasks: steering, acceleration, braking, and all the ones we already discussed. And refuse to give any attention to secondary tasks. Realize that there can be no other task than the safe operation of your vehicle. You should also give yourself opportunities to rest. Pull over for breaks, stretch your legs, give your brain a chance to relax from the hard work of attentive driving. Those things other people do while driving, the eating, the phone calls, do those tasks while on your break, and that can help keep you at your best when you're behind the wheel. Record a cell phone message which informs callers that you are currently driving, and notify callers that you will get messages at some regular interval, and then turn the phone off. You may also have opportunities to take a refresher course in defensive driving. It's never a bad idea to reacquaint yourself with basic principles. Many workplaces require these periodic refreshers, and they're a fine idea. But none of that was for you, was it, James? You made driving a game. You like games, huh? How's this? It was late. You were coming home from work. You had the radio blaring. You looked in your briefcase to find a grocery list. You couldn't find it, so you called your wife. You couldn't hear her because the radio was too loud. And when you turned the radio down, the phone slipped out of your hand. You took your eyes off the road for one split second to find it, because you cared more about your phone call than you did about your own life.